Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with the 31 days of gangster films and police films from the year 1970 to the present day. And it is my hope that this can afford us, you and me, with the opportunity, my dear friends, to be able to speak about as many films as possible in the context of these very invigorating and exciting and enthralling and electrifying genres of cinema, those being the police film genre and the gangster film genre. In that spirit today, specifically for this video, I'd like to focus in on the gangster film genre element. And for that, I have a film that is described as being from the year 2002. And I think we can discuss it in the context of the gangster film. It is about crime. It is about how crime affects characters over time, whether those characters are directly involved with carrying out acts of crime and the like, or how these acts that are part of this particular community, how they affect the people around them, people who live in this community, people who are part of this community, and maybe people who are trying to avoid being directly involved with crime. So it is about crime, the acts of crime, about how they are committed, but it is also about people. It is also about lives and growing up, and to be specific, it is about people who are in the times of their lives where they are children, their childhoods, and so it forms this incredibly powerful and poignant and ironic and even tragic and shocking portrayal of circumstances where we have children, whether they are young adolescents or teenagers, whatever the case may be. We have children who are affected by or even engaged with acts of crime in the context of even organized crime and crime networks in the context of this particular point or this particular area. And I'm speaking of a particular area, suburb or favela in Rio de Janeiro. And this area is, and please pardon me for my poor pronunciation of the Portuguese language, but it is Cidade de Deus. And this is in fact the name of this work in question from Fernando Meirelles and Katia Lund. And this is Cidade de Deus, or as it's known in English, City of God. City of God. This happens to be a Blu-ray which has two films, one of which being City of God. So let me focus today with this particular video discussion on this incredibly powerful work, City of God. My goodness, what we are dealing with here is an electrifying, bold, and very shocking work that is filled also with many layers of poignancy. This is a film, as I say, about children. And whether they be very young in age or maybe even in their teenage years, these are still young people who are in this area community, the Cidade de Deus community, and they have networks, they have friendships, they have feelings, emotions, mixed emotions, confusions that are very much natural and part of the states of being for children, any child growing up, and the feelings that one has with regard to friendships, feeling joy and elation, feeling disappointment, feeling everything in between, which is part of growing up. Now, where this becomes such a shocking and powerful and overwhelmingly powerful experience in the context of the gangster film genre is that we understand too that these characters that we are witnessing and we are engaged with, they are being affected by the life of crime in whatever capacity that that particular character is dealing with. Again, the characters might be directly affected by this life of crime, or they might actually be directly engaged with or involved with carrying out these acts of crime. And even on an even shocking level, we might even discover over the course of the film that those that are involved in the criminal elements are further involved in organized crime, even organized crime that could be described as gangster, with gangster-like elements to it. Involving drugs, involving illicit drug trading, also involving extortion, and also involving crimes, petty crimes, all the way up to very serious, significant, and quite dangerous crimes involving guns and killings as well. And this could happen on the spur of the moment, suddenly, without warning, without notice, on a dime. These events can definitely affect everyone around them. It can mean a life or death situation, and that life or death situation is, as I say, caught up in this story or these series of stories that are about people growing up, children growing up. Now that is one of the great sources of the overwhelming power of this work, City of God. Namely, we are engaged with this network of connections between and among characters that are, on the one hand, dealing with what might be said to be very universal, very accessible aspects of childhood and adolescence, and feelings of growing into a sense of adult maturity, or feelings of maybe physical change as well as emotional change that is accompanying any type of growth and any type of growing up from childhood into adulthood. And so in this context, we have friendships, we have loyalties, we have first-time experiences, curiosities, sexual awakenings, and also the idea of the individual spirit, discovery of self, discovery of what it is one is interested in, what kind of person that one wants to be when one grows up. These sorts of issues are on display at the same time as these stories unfold that are involving crime and organized crime and killing and petty crimes and even life or death situations that, as I say, turn really ugly and turn really deadly and turn really sinister and vicious in a given moment. And that sinister nature or vicious nature is given even more heft, punch, and overall throttling effect by the fact that we see that a lot of these acts, in fact, most of the acts depicted in the film, are either involving children or maybe even carried out by children. And so whatever the case may be, we are, as viewers, left totally stunned and totally overwhelmed, and as I say, totally almost bereft of words. I mean, I remember seeing this for the first time and not necessarily knowing what it is or what it was I was in for when I first saw the film, but when I was watching it, and indeed when the film was over, I was left feeling numb. It was that powerful for me, and it left me, I was filled with so much tension, and I was on edge on the one hand, but at the same time, I had this feeling of sympathy, and I had this feeling of being able to access the feelings and say heartaches and disappointments and joys and feelings of discovery that these children, many of these children that we see depicted in City of God, we're going through as we go from story to story to story, or time period to time period to time period. And so this is one of the marvelous aspects of this work, City of God, namely that is able to combine or balance these very powerful tones in a way that is effective, in a way that is very long-lasting, and it is very, it has a lot of heft and punch to it in terms of its overall effect. This is a very effective work, and it lingers for many a time after it has initially concluded. So that is one of the great strengths of this film, City of God, how it is able to show us these really terrifying depictions and these intense situations, while at the same time reminding us that these characters are children. So that is, in and of itself, very, very shocking indeed. And it does so in a way that has this almost quasi verite style to it. And we understand that this is partly to do with, or maybe a lot to do with, the way in which the location shooting was handled, also the casting was handled, and how we had a lot of non-professional performers, actors, playing a number of the key roles, which added to this sense of the verite or quasi verite aspect of this film, which then leads to the furtherance of the effect, or the overall styling of the film, which is, as I say, incredibly heart wrenching and shocking and filled with so much tension. And I think that tension is also engendered by the fact that this is shot in and presented in an electrifying fashion. The speed and scope of breadth in which this film shifts from story to story to story, from place to place to place, with the heat and the light and the atmosphere and the ambiance of this place that is growing and changing and being affected over a long period of time, which is also captured in the film in terms of various time periods, from youth to adolescence to beyond. And we see also how the time is affecting this specific area of the city, the Ciudad de Dios area. And so this all adds to the ambiance and the cinematic flair and the cinematic electricity that is on full display in this film, and that adds to the extra punch, and that adds to the extra dimension and spirit, and yes, indeed, the overwhelming power that accompanies this film when one watches it. And I remember the electricity, and I remember the excitement and the shock, and the type of full-throated force and authority that accompanied this film when it landed for the first time on the cinema landscape, many years ago. And then it seemed to echo and echo and echo. And people spoke about this and spoke about this and were stunned. And it was recalling other films of a similar nature, while also making its own impact and its own statements for those audiences of the time and even now. So it resonated, and it still resonates with such authority and such confidence, and yes, indeed, such dire circumstance and significance as one watches it again. The power of this is truly overwhelming. The electricity in the air that is felt when one watches this is truly overwhelming. This is a powerful, overwhelming experience indeed. This is the work from 2002. This is City of God. Okay, my dear friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. I very, very much appreciate it. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.